All right, thank you everybody for coming out today. We're going to be going over the certification process and an overview of CSQ and the steps it takes to get certified. So I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us today and learning about CSQ. My name is Tyler Williams. I'm the Chief Technical Officer here at CSQ and responsible for managing the Technical Advisory Committee who is responsible for setting our standards. Just an overview of CSQ. So CSQ Standards were launched in 2020 to promote industry best practices and improve the overall safety and quality of cannabis infused products and cannabis products on the market. The CSQ certification program was built around ISO and the Global Food Safety Initiative, or GFSI, benchmarking requirements. Our vision is to become the industry's most trusted source for safety and quality certification, and our mission is to provide the cannabis industry with reliable and trusted industry standards that help certified sites minimize risk, protect their brand, as well as the health and well-being of consumers around the world. We have four main goals here at CSQ. Our first one is global standardization. So to develop a cannabis industry safety and quality standards and best practices based on science and international standards such as ISO. To promote fair trade and ensure there are no unnecessary barriers to trade. To protect consumers' health and safety through the development of standards and best practices in the cannabis industry. And then our ultimate goal is to become the cannabis industry's most trusted source for safety and quality certification. Our objectives are to promote industry best practices, to build and establish a database of certified sites that are certified to CSQ, to promote the international recognition and acceptance of cannabis safety and quality systems, and to help increase transparency throughout the cannabis supply chain. There are several benefits to getting CSQ certified. There are benefits to suppliers, benefits to buyers, and benefits to consumers. I'm just going to go over a couple of these with you guys today, but some of the benefits to suppliers include improvement to product safety, improvement to product quality and consistency, assistance in meeting regulatory compliance, reducing recalls and improving traceability, protecting your brand and bottom line, enhanced marketability by being able to be listed on our established database, which you can find on our website, csqcertification.com, and improvement to consumer confidence and increase to brand loyalty. And it can also help reduce your insurance cost as well by having this certificate behind your operations. For buyers, there's benefits as well. So if you're a retailer or a dispensary looking to purchase cannabis products, you can have better confidence in your suppliers if they're certified to CSQ. A reduction in audit inconsistency, reduction of second-party audit costs, so you're not having to go out and audit these suppliers yourself. This is all done by a third party who is accredited. And then once again, you can search through that database to find suppliers that meet the requirements of CSQ and use that to purchase new products. For consumers, there's benefits as well. You can have confidence in your product safety, grow expectations for higher quality products, have insurance in the brands that you love, and be able to search that database once again to see if the brands you like are certified to CSQ and if they're following the requirements that you think that these products should be. So let's look at the standard. It's broken down into four industry sectors. We have a standard for growing and cultivation, a standard for extraction, a standard for food and beverage or edibles, and then a standard for dietary supplements. Coming soon, we are making a standard for contact cannabis packaging material, cosmetics such as topicals, retail, and consumption lounges. So this is an example of how our standard is developed, and you can see that it's very transparent throughout the entire process. So first step is CSQ, or our Technical Advisory Committee, proposes a new standard or a revision to a current standard and determines the timeline, the scope, and the resource needs. From there, we organize a technical working group of industry experts to help develop the standard or make revisions to the current standards. From there, we draft a new standard or make the suggested revisions. And then our internal technical advisory committee conducts an initial review. During that review, the standard or the revision of the current standards will go back and forth through a review process and revise until the technical advisory committee gives approval. From there, it goes into either a 30 or 60-day public comment period, depending on the content. So if it's a small revision, we're probably looking at a 30-day public comment period. For new standards, we're looking at a 60-day public comment period. From there, we review every single comment that comes in and respond to those comments. And our technical working group and our technical advisory committee will make revisions based on those comments. And then the standard gets published. So you can see there's a lot of transparency throughout this process. There's chances for stakeholders like you guys to give input and provide feedback and have a say in what goes into the standard. So we love having industry support and industry comments during those public comment periods. Setting the standard. So there's a lot of things that go into the CSQ standard. We look at international standards, we look at federal regulations, we look at state regulations, and we combine those things and build the standard how we think as an industry should it be built with consumers in mind. And so some of the international standards and benchmarking requirements we follow, for example, is GFSI. For those that don't know, it stands for Global Food Safety Initiative. And those are benchmarking requirements that basically set the highest standard for food standards. And the reason why we are benchmarked or getting benchmarked to GFSI is because there is no current benchmarking organization for the cannabis industry. And so we at least want to be able to say that we meet these global standards. Additionally, we follow the Codex Alimentarius, which is the global food standards set by the FAO and the WHO. And then we also look at ISO standards, or International Organization for Standardization. So all of our certification bodies get accredited to ISO 17065 and have to follow ISO best practices. And then lastly, we look at best practices from the cannabis industry, what works and what doesn't work, and we take those and combine those with things such as good manufacturing practices and good agricultural practices that we use in other industries that are heavily regulated, such as food and bev, dietary supplements, and pharmaceuticals. So the CSQ standard is broken down into 5 parts as of right now. So the first part is mandatory for every facility, no matter what your operation is. Those are the general requirements for cannabis safety and quality. So things like complaint management, record keeping, document control, management commitment, all of those things that you should be doing as a company in general are built in that first part. From there, we break it down into the industry sectors. So we have growing and cultivation of cannabis plants, manufacturing and extraction of cannabis, manufacturing and infusion of cannabis into food and beverage products, and then manufacturing of cannabis dietary supplements. So for cannabis companies that do only one industry sector or one production one process one production process in the process of their operations, they can get certified to Part 1, and then, for example, if they're extraction, they would get audited to Part 1 and Part 3. However, the standard is built to be able, if you have one part of the supply chain or if you're vertically integrated, which a lot of states require companies to be vertically integrated. And so therefore the standard is built to where you can get audited to all of these parts or just a specific scope. So setting the benchmark. Is CSQ benchmarked right now? No, it is not. The scheme has to be operating for a year and have to have 10 certificates. So we are planning to go through the GFSI benchmarking process in 2022 next year. So once again, why did we choose GFSI? Isn't GFSI meant for food standards? Yes and no. So our edible standard is going to be benchmarked to GFSI. And the reason why we picked GFSI, once again, is because there's not a reputable cannabis benchmarking agency out there right now for the cannabis industry. Additionally, it allows us to have a global standard that is accepted by major retailers around the world, like Amazon, CVS, Walmart, etc. All of those companies are currently selling CBDs and are looking for ways to implement supplier controls, and CSQ is one of those ways. And so we are a global standard. It was designed to be a global standard and accepted everywhere and open up trade barriers between legalized countries and states. We are also an accredited certification program. So our accreditation bodies are required to be members of the International Accreditation Forum and signatories on the multilateral recognition arrangement, or MLA. We currently have one approved accreditation body, which is ANAB, or the ANSI National Accreditation Board. And we also have, so our accreditation body, ANAB, will accredit our certification bodies, which have to be accredited to ISO 17065. Currently, we have 2 licensed certification bodies. Both are with us here today, WQS and ASI Food Safety. So thank you guys for coming out. So there's 8 simple steps to getting certified. The first step every company should take, if this is the route you want to go and improve your site's best practices, download the current edition of the CSQ standard. From there, you need to designate an employee or team to manage the CSQ system. Then you can take the CSQ 101 online training, which is you can do at your own pace and is found on the CSQ website. From there, once you've done the training, once you've downloaded and educated yourself on the standard and designated an employee or team to manage the system, then you can go to your certification body, one of our 2 licensed certification bodies, and sign an agreement with them to actually come out and schedule and perform the actual audit. But before that audit happens, you should be doing either conducting an internal audit or using one of our licensed certification bodies or your own external resources to conduct a mock audit if you wish to prepare for the audit. From there, you need to correct any nonconformances from that internal audit or that external mock audit, and then schedule your certification audit with your licensed CB. And then hopefully at the end of the audit, you're certified. So audit flow and duration. So audit flow, there's 2 parts to the audit. There's a documentation evaluation and a facility evaluation. The document evaluation is typically done off-site. However, sites can request that be done on-site. And then that process is looking at your SOPs, your procedures, making sure that everything is in line with the CSQ standard before we go and do the facility audit. Once you get through the documentation evaluation, then there's the facility evaluation. And the facility evaluation, the auditor is going to go on site and actually look at your facility to make sure that it is compliant, make sure that you're following good manufacturing practices or good agricultural practices. And then they're also going to be looking at your records and making sure that your SOPs match that they reviewed in the document evaluation, match what you're doing on site. The audit duration depends on the scope of certification, so things such as the size of the facility, the number of employees, the number of products and processes, and then so just a timeline. So we do set parameters at CSQ for the CBs to follow. The off-site documentation evaluation is typically between 1 and 2 days, and the on-site facility evaluation is between 1 and 3 days, depending on, once again, the size of your facility, what your processes are, and things like that. For example, if you're just getting the extraction portion of your process audited, you're probably looking at a 1-day document evaluation and a 1-day on-site facility evaluation. However, if you're vertically integrated and you're getting all your processes, you're probably looking at that 2-day documentation review and a 3-day on-site visit, or 2 days, depending on your CB. So the certification process first starts with audit preparation. So doing things like your internal audit, reviewing your internal procedures to make sure they're up to par to the CSQ standards. From there, you go into the audit planning, so working with your certification body to schedule the audit, to understand the rules and parameters that they have in place around the audit, understanding when nonconformances are going to be needed to be turned in after the audit and things like that. And then from there, you go into the off-site documentation evaluation. Once that is complete, you can correct the issues found from that. If you don't correct those issues, then it does count against your score at the end of the audit. During the on-site facility evaluation, you do not get a chance to correct your issues before that final score. You get the final score, and then the post-audit process is doing those corrective actions and making sure that those nonconformances are taken care of so you can maintain your certification. And then the last step is maintenance. So making sure that if you're using the CSQ logo, that you're using the logo correctly, making sure that you're still following all these practices that you have in place to get certified, and ensuring that you're staying up to date with your certification, either if you're on a 6-month cycle if you're on surveillance, or a 1-year cycle if you're on your traditional audit certification cycle. We do have some new and exciting standards that just came out. So during our pilot audits in launching CSQ, we realized that there was a lot of small companies that couldn't meet the CSQ requirements, at least at this moment in time. And so through that, we built a stepping stone approach to certification. And so we added 4 new audits, CGMP, CJP, and CGMP Plus and CGAP Plus. The difference between the two is that the CGMP and the CGAP Plus, they're looking at the basic good manufacturing practices or the good agricultural practices, whereas the CGMP Plus and the CGAP Plus have an additional, or looking at all those practices, the GMPs and the GAPs. However, it also has a HACCP module, so we're looking at your hazard analysis, critical control point, and your risk assessments. And you also have to do a real-time mock recall activity. And so you can see here from this image, there's different approaches that companies can take to certification. So you can go straight into CSQ if your company is ready, or you can take a little bit longer of approach and go CGMP, CGMP Plus to CSQ. If you already have HACCP in place, you might start at CGMP Plus and then go into CSQ. So preparing for your audit, like I said, we have 2 certification bodies both with us here today, ASI and WQS. So they will be a great resource for everyone here to set up their audits and get ready and get all the information they need to prepare. Additionally, you can use a registered consultant if you wish to develop your CSQ system. We do have qualified registered consultants on our listed on our website. These consultants have went through our CSQ lead auditor training and have met specific requirements that we have in place to ensure that they are able to effectively develop and implement a CSQ system. Additionally, we have our CSQ 101 training that can be found on our website. It is a requirement in the standard that the person responsible for developing and implementing your CSQ program takes this course or has industry experience that meets the requirements. Once again, thank you for your time. We are the cannabis industry's most trusted source for safety and quality certification. Peace out.